Hi, friends. So today I'm talking to Thomas Funke, which is the founder of Tomorrow University, one of the first fully remote online universities that is actually accredited by the German government. And what they basically have done is really impressive. They have built a university with which is fully online with challenges that actually challenges the students to take action with what or with the information and the knowledge that they acquire in the courses, in the programs. Me and myself, I'm following an MBA program in sustainability, and I have to say that they truly provide tremendous value, practical, day to day, usable value, especially if you have an entrepreneurial desire, if you're not an aspiring entrepreneur, then Tomorrow University is great way to actually create uh, more knowledge, but also actually increase the network that you could actually potentially build within an online environment. So in this interview, I will focus on entrepreneurship because Thomas Funke himself is the founder of Tomorrow University. He is an entrepreneur by heart. He's a great person. It was a privilege for me to interview him. And well, I would say enjoy and leave behind a comment and a like. And please don't forget to subscribe because that helps me a lot. Thank you, Thomas, for being here. Appreciate it. I have a set of questions prepared that are well very much related to your entrepreneurial journey at Tomorrow University. If you could shortly introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much, Luke. I'm Thomas, father of four, entrepreneur by heart. I love building things. I love creating things. And for me, purpose in life lies pretty much in changing from within, which means for me, development per se has one of the biggest or the most important aspects that I put in my life. And I would love to actually enable everyone in this world to actually do exactly that. Not change the world, change the others, but rather start from within. And that's why I built the university and started building a university
Yeah.
4 years now.
So who am I? I'm Vella Critien. I've been following the MBA program on sustainability, innovation, leadership since I think it's May this year, and I have to say it's truly inspiring
Nice.
And challenging. And this is part of one of the challenges to interview someone that is then you, who inspires you, who motivates you to actually to follow up in this case in your footsteps to truly follow that entrepreneurial journey, right? And that's what also that's why I also invited you to this call to to join and to have a conversation about like what did you learn, what were your biggest challenges, how did you innovate, what was your vision. So let's get started. So the first question is like what inspired you to start Tomorrow University, and like how did you identify the opportunity in the market?
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful question. And for that, I need to travel back a bit in time. So I myself actually only had that one moment of enlightenment. I would say 15 years back when I was studying myself, because I was more or less enjoying a very traditional form of education in school where everybody was treated more or less the same and you kind of were produced a factory worker. So I didn't really think of anything different. But when I entered university, and of course, luckily, I also had a very good family supporting me always in my individual growth, but not necessarily in school. But when I joined university, I tried to kind of be the person that the university needed to be to succeed, to get good grades, to reproduce knowledge that was given to me. And I think in the fifth or sixth semester, I had one challenge given to me by one professor that literally dropped a problem statement to us and told us the company needs to solve this challenge. They can't do it themselves. Can you help them? And we're like, sorry, we're like, are you crazy? We can't, consult a 300 people organization as students.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sure you'll figure it out. And then we really did dive in, a team of four, and we could actually help them not spend millions on one project within 4 weeks. just with our research and our interviews that we did. And somehow I
Amazing. Yeah.
realized first time, oh, I'm capable of doing something. I'm able to change something with just my brain, my capacity. And that
Yeah.
was super encouraging. And I was like, interesting. It's not just throwing knowledge at me and then I'm being tested, but it's actually me trying to find innovative solutions. And since ever then, I fell for this way of learning. It's like figuring out new solutions for existing problems, divergent thinking, not this, there's one solution and the
Yeah.
teacher knows and you need to. And I really felt more empowered. I grew my self efficacy and I felt like, why is not all of the education like that? Then I tried to change a lot of things from within the university, like
Hmm.
started a research studio that empowers students. We developed methodologies. We had events with 1,000 people attending. So I somehow felt totally for this, let's do more challenge-based, empowering learning. But never really was able to change a university entirely because the majority still kept on doing knowledge dissemination, passive knowledge consumption.
Yeah.
So I would say a little frustrated, went out of university, kept only one foot at the university, started several other startups because I was like, I need to learn how to create businesses, create ventures. You cannot only teach the people how to do it without having done it yourself. But somehow it was
Powerful.
never
Yeah.
able to leave the university space. And yeah, like then for 10 years, always kind of trying to infiltrate university from the outside as a lecturer, as a advisor and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But actually the pandemic opened up new opportunities. Like in my previous business, we had two universities as shareholders, two bigger ones, and we ran boot camps. And then the pandemic actually was that moment, that window of opportunity where everybody listened, like what I had been proposing for over 10 years, which was disregarded all the time. All of a sudden, they were looking for something like that. And then we really jumped on that opportunity. So the ministry all of a sudden said, we need new forms of learning empowered by technology.
Yeah.
Vienna University said the same thing. We need something. Everybody's complaining. So they had pressure and they were looking for a solution, and we grabbed that. But actually, the vision and the idea is 15 to 20 years old, to be honest.
Wow. That is that
Yeah.
is, if you think about it, something that you truly then were loyal to this idea that you had coming from the world of universities and schooling and teaching and education. You saw that 20 years ago, you already saw necessity for probably, could you conclude that it's then a changing society that needs, that wants a different way of being educated? Or is
Yes,
that some, yeah,
I would say that sometimes people call tomorrow university revolutionary, and I always thought there's a lot of institutions and people already moving in that direction since decades. I mean, like 30 years ago, the learning scientists found active learning is better, challenge-based learning is more effective. So we have the evidence, but the system hasn't been able to adapt since today or up until today. And just like it depended on the will of motivated professors or but there was never a systems change. And now, since the pandemic, a systems change is possible. That's why people now say we are revolutionary. However, there's great professors applying the principles that we apply since 30 years. So, but it's really interesting if you observe it. No university has really made this move as a whole, but many professors did.
that's that's an interesting interesting angle, because I come from, I mean, I've studied also at traditional universities, and s- s- uh, I haven't met that before tomorrow university. So that was a big eye opener for me, that actually there is something out there that has a different approach. And that's what I love about TOU, is that, like you mentioned, you have this out of the box divergent way of thinking, and that you actually, personally, I learn much more from such challenges than just basically having a 300-page book, learning it from beginning to end, and then having an exam on that. That basically is, I think it's just called the sponge effect, that you learn something and then like 3 4 weeks after, you just remember only half of it. Yeah, it's yeah.
70% is forgotten after 2 days already. Like
Oh yeah.
7 crazy.
that's that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, I love the way you sorry, the way you identified opportunity, and especially after or in COVID, that it became so evident. So what, like, if you look at what happened in those in those early days, what were the biggest like challenges that you and your team faced, and how did you turn your idea into an actual viable business?
That's a very good question. I mean, I can talk about the past 4 years, but I think starting a little earlier, it's the unwillingness to change the existing, which was the biggest challenge per se. And this is what I always call this comfort crisis that we're in as humanity, as a society. Like for decades, we've developed technology to make things more easy, more convenient. It's like everything that we want to do is more convenient, more easy, but we
Yeah,
forget that the magic lies in going out of the comfort zone. And you can see that everybody where we pitched the idea, where we wanted support, was not embracing it, despite they may have known it's a good one and it really brings society forward, but they were in their comfort zones. May that be jobs at the ministries, at existing universities. Why would they change? I mean, everything works more or less okay, but why would they change? There's no need. It's this convenience crisis, this comfort crisis, that I think was the biggest obstacle for 10, 15 years. And we overcame this with finding the right supporters, I would say. Like along the way, you had some that either felt too convenient and were like, yes, let's change something for the sake of my own life, or for people that really joined our mission because they said it's exciting, we need to go in this direction. But it's always this people, like really influential people that help you, like the dean of Goethe University supported us on the early days, with advocating towards the ministry. The minister itself in Hessen, he was like, I believe that whatever these guys propose has a good a basis, so I'll support them. So I think finding these strong ambassadors was actually what helped us to really unfold the idea. And then if you think of the past 4 years, so like before that, it was always trying to have your idea, but if you're
yeah,
just keep on talking about it, but the people don't support it, doesn't help. But in the past 4 years, it's
yeah,
literally about building a dream team. It's about building the people that are missionaries, not mercenaries, that believe
yeah,
in you without you having a brand to apply for. It's having this clarity in the vision, but then also consistency and authenticity when communicating it. So that's to me the biggest challenges in the past 4 years, and that goes throughout, right? Because we can only attract new learners if we're clear on what we're doing differently, why we're doing things differently, and what they get out of it, right? So I think that remains a bigger challenge because
yeah.
traditionally universities require like a 100-year history, a lot of trust signals, and
Yeah,
so yeah.
that's it's so yeah, basically founded in the system of a country and of an education, that universities are like banks, like once it exists, then it's there forever, right? And so you did basically something that is quite disruptive. I could affirm to that. And like, if you look at the moments that you were the moments that you doubted like the idea, or that you could actually make it work, because it's not something easy. It's not something that is easily done.
On a daily basis, on a bigger scale, like not getting the accreditation, that was a huge risk because we've changed quite some things without, like focusing on only challenges, not testing
Yeah,
knowledge through exams.
yeah, yeah,
That we got this through because we were really fierce on this, as we don't need a university license if the authorities force us to have exams, then the entire learning model is obsolete. And we were pretty bold in saying, like, even if you recommend us to have exams, then we withdraw our application. So there were moments when we actually thought, wow, maybe we won't get the license. So that was one big part. Then secondly, also for the learning model itself, like our core assumption was always, if we do fully focus on technology enabled and remote learning, we need to have a strong community element, because I don't believe in remote learning models where no human connections are made, when no social learning happens. And we did not know whether it will work, that we will be able to connect the individuals in a way that is better than, for example, the typical distance learning universities, because I see that trend of social isolation currently globally. The more technology we use, the more we isolate. However, I think we want to do something vice versa, and enable better social learning. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we overcame, where I was like, ooh, not sure if we'll manage this. Convincing, so almost on a daily basis, there are doubts that you have as an entrepreneur, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you just keep on going. But I myself love the comfort zone too.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, it's obvious. Who doesn't, right?
yeah, exactly. And that's when I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
and let's go out
Yeah.
of the comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Myself. I constantly
Yeah.
try to overcome these or
Yeah.
expand my
Yeah.
comfort zone,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
helps me in that regard.
Yeah, and that's something truly inspiring. I mean, getting out of your comfort zone is something that is scary, that requires tremendous amounts of energy and focus, right? I mean, like you said, it's so much easier to just lay back and, I don't know, get a job as a professor, and then, right, receive a paycheck, and then you're fine. So that's why
That
that's
would be
that's
so
so
boring.
inspiring for me, truly. Yeah. So I appreciate that really a lot. And like, if you look at I also had some insights that I wanted to share with you, or rather your insights with regard to innovation. So, like, if you look at the university that you've built, how would you define like innovation within that business? Like, perhaps I could elaborate. Could you give an example of how you applied an innovative approach to basically like giving out in this case challenges, or like you mentioned, forming a community that's actually not, like you mentioned, that there is actual relationship going on with the participants. So like, how did or it could be also your own definition of innovation within university.
That's a very, very, like, on a systems level, we could speak of now incremental innovation or sustaining innovation versus disruptive innovation. But I think for me, it's more value-based innovation, which is important. What we're trying to do is to rethink of the values plus competencies of learners in the 21st century, and then actually think, is this delivered by the existing institutions? And one of the competencies slash values is self-empowerment and radical responsibilities. It's like, in the 21st century, and this is what everyone says out there in the world, we need self-empowered individuals that are able to manage themselves, that are able to manage their own lives, but also take responsibility for themselves. And the existing university structure system does not empower individuals. They tell them, this is what you do in the 21st century, just follow that path and you'll be fine. This is your job in 4 years, but it doesn't work. The
Yeah.
values that a university is based, critical thinking, one of the older values of traditional universities, is still super important. Like building your cognitive capacity, still super important, but that shouldn't come at the cost of every other competency, like emotional intelligence, for example. So I see that the values of why we as a society have a university have shifted, right? But the universities haven't adapted. So that's where you see now, I would say, value-based innovation, but not in the sense of value for the learners, but more or less that the value of a university per se. And that is
Right.
shifting what I
Yeah.
currently see.
Yeah.
So the values have shifted of why society has a university, and we're just like following that request. And you could see it outside in this world. Everybody wants to be self-empowered, wants to be like emotionally intelligent, or not everybody, this is maybe too strong, but many, but the universities don't offer it. That's why
Agreed.
so many
Yeah.
go for alternative education programs.
Yeah, yeah, that's true, and I can see that also in my my environment, like people around me, that there's a change happening. So in that case, you innovated just with the changing environment itself. So it's not disruptive in that sense. Like,
I would, yeah, it's not about creating new markets, as Christensen would say. I mean, yes, to some extent, but we're entering an existing university system, but we're shifting the society's needs. We're just like offering a service that nobody yet in a systematic way offers. So I would say
Yeah.
that it's a system that exists, but very stiff, very stiff, and not moving along with what the society or humanity demands
Yeah.
on so many
That's
levels.
strong. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's not a creation, and it's also not sustaining innovation according to Christensen. For me, it's really just like there is a movement that you currently see, but the universities don't follow because we've established as humans such rigid university systems, reward systems for professors that don't incentivize rethinking whatever they do. They just sit on the high horse and say, finally, I'm a professor. Now I can tell everyone else what to do. Before that, my professor told me what to do. Now I can.
Yeah, yeah, it's like a power play, and like the students themselves did not maybe benefit as much as they could. Like, but in the end of the day, it's like, why are you learning something, right? So, is it just for the sake of learning, for the sake of having a title or degree, or right, or is it because you want to actually do something with that knowledge and information?
And that's the point, like we've produced factory workers, and in the literal sense, we've produced factory sources with same schedules, same skills in schools and in
Yeah,
universities, with
yeah,
a little bit of diversity and variety. But we need to move beyond. As a humanity, we focus only, this is what distinguishes us from animals, our brains,
yeah,
and we've only focused on even having a
yeah,
stronger distinction because our brains are stronger than the ones of the ape. We totally forgot our emotional intelligence, our self-empowerment, we totally
yeah,
forgot the other parts that really define us as humans. And everybody sees that now. Why do we have so many mental health issues, topics?
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
because, like, have you
Strong, yeah,
learned in your school system how to deal with the I don't know how
yeah,
many kinds of emotions?
yeah, yeah,
Never. It's just about math, reading, and just
yeah,
brain
yeah,
capacity is pushed.
yeah, yeah. That's strong, and perhaps to come back at what you mentioned. So you mentioned this systemic innovation, right, for a changing way of giving education. Like, can you describe a time, perhaps it's a question that perhaps could be better answered in 5 to 10 years. But did you have to pivot your business like strategy that you applied? Was there a time where you had to like from your initial idea had
Yeah.
to perhaps it's not a 180 degrees change, but even a
So
slight.
yeah, never a 180 degree because we said university as a with a university license, we're able
Yeah.
to act freely. Depends a bit of which scope are we starting with. We started out with bite-sized lessons, for example, at first. Consume this knowledge and then solve the problem. One pivot was
Okay.
that we don't put the knowledge first and then say here's the problem, but rather say here's the problem, get the knowledge you need from lessons. So what you currently as a learner see is you see the challenge structure with the milestones. That was not always the case. We had the knowledge bits, and then we had the bigger challenge. We realized doesn't really help the learner. Problem should be first, and
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
more or less
Yeah.
buried. That was one pivot.
Yeah.
I would say, fairly smaller one. But if you don't only consider the time since we have the university license, before that, it was never always clear that we have our own university. We pitched to the state. They wanted to give us 12 million of funding, but they own the university. That was quite interesting in terms of the governance structure. Luckily, that didn't work out. I mean, 12
Okay.
million was a huge check we could have gotten.
It
Um,
is. Yeah. Yeah.
we would not have changed anything if the ownership of the university lies with the state with a very stiff governance rules.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we were not always
Yeah.
clear on will we really be the owners of a university, but we believed
Yeah.
in the license per se.
Yeah.
So there was a lot
Yeah.
of pivots, I would say, involved.
That I mean that's a strong lesson in and of itself, because you initially thought perhaps, well, universities, I do not know exactly the ownership structure, but like are owned by governments usually, right? And then you have, okay, there are also private universities, but so you started with that idea, and then you saw like, okay, perhaps it's a better for the
Yes.
sake of independence to be financed by but perhaps by other owners instead of the government itself, so private equity or venture capital, whatever the case is. So that's a big lesson, right? Yeah, yeah,
So
that's powerful.
it's literally the combination of a venture
Yeah,
case with
yeah,
an NGO case. So
yeah,
it's unifying, and we didn't know that this would work. Like currently, our structure is we have a for-profit technology company that develops the technology, and we have an NGO, and they collaborate. The NGO is the university. That's the company that can also apply for funds, hires the professors and stuff like that. But it's a mixture. Like it's in terms of governance also an innovation, because you have a bit of both. Like traditional universities are pretty strongly NGO or foundation
yes,
only,
yeah,
and that's why they're slow. That's why they're stiff, because they don't have any market mechanisms. They get unlimited funding from the state. Convenience.
yeah,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
200 students less or more. Are the students
yeah,
happy? Who cares? We'll
yeah,
get funding
yeah.
next year anyway. So
That's powerful. So you actually have benefits of both. So the commercial, like doing your best, also like from a marketing perspective, actually selling that what you have, plus the yeah,
we can see our learners, and this is quite an interesting. We can see our learners also as customers, right? Because you pay, and we need to do something in order for you to feel your money is well invested, and for you
yeah, yeah,
to recommend us, right? Public
yeah,
universities, and even some private universities, they're saying, well, if I have 100 students less and 50 of them are unsatisfied, who cares?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
I get my
yeah,
bill anyway. I get
yeah,
paid anyway. But that's
yeah,
terrible. It's
yeah.
this
That's
motivation, market motivation, that we
the
also have.
incentive is yeah, exactly. So the incentive is strongly tied to also the performance of the university and the service or the product that the clients, the students then receive.
Yeah.
And I think you can, as a student myself of TOU, I can actually feel the difference. As in, you feel that there is also the need to perform, but also you're treated in a different way than basically, like you mentioned, like a factory of having a year on year the same uh, content, the same way of doing. Like it's been done this way for
Yes.
decades, right? I mean, there's no huge difference to how it's done now versus in the 90s, I guess. So what I also wanted to look at is like how as an entrepreneur do you try to stay ahead of like trends, industry trends? I mean, it's perhaps in the education business is becoming competitive. Like the online education business is becoming quite competitive. How do you play or react on those trends?
That's a very fair question. Like on an individual level, for me, it's like I have this bias for action. I learned myself that out of the comfort zone is where the music plays, and then this is where I then hop on new things and try to be not just informed but try out new things. May that be when the AI explosion emerged, to
Yeah,
see it as a chance to make our daily tasks more easier, more efficient. I'm using Gemini, Perplexity, and all of these things. I'm just tried, just like let's see what they bring. So
yeah,
that's on a
yeah,
very individual level, my drive for learning, my drive for development. But then on the company level, I think this is the toughest part, because you need to have a system that Jeff Bezos, he always called this the 70-20-10 rule. He's like 70% we're trying to do what we do in a better way. So we're trying to improve, sustain, like
yeah,
get better,
yeah,
get more
yeah,
efficient, get more effective, deliver even more quality to our learners. But then you need 20% smaller bets, where you just say, like, let's try if this works, and 10% bigger bets. So we currently, just to give you one of the ideas, we currently believe that we can communicate way better to the human side in the university. Like we call it personality-led growth. So we have so many great academics, but they don't necessarily spread the word about their content, you know? So I'm trying to currently lead, with the social media activities, to be more outspoken, to say about the things that you really care about. That's an experiment. We don't know, we haven't really done that before. We used more the typical marketing measures. That's more the 20 and the 10%. So continuously have a system in place where the organization can experiment as well, so that we don't run the risk to be that old traditional university, because we've invented a new learning model and now we just make it more efficient and effective. We need to keep on evolving, and that needs to be 30% of our capacity on a daily basis.
That's really interesting because I see your posts coming by on platforms such as LinkedIn. I have to say I love them. They're truly inspiring, and I think well, first of all, you should continue with them because they provide a lot of value
Thank you.
to the people reading them. And secondly, I think from a business perspective, it's really good marketing. And like you said, I've never seen actually professor give any actual uh, like the ones that I knew at least about their job, about perhaps personal interests, yes, right? So they use the platform as in for personal purpose, but not related to their work. And that's the difference between, like, one of the questions I also had as a follow-up was like, what technological advancements are you using to transform your business? So you're using social media. So you're also using Slack as a platform where you basically can have access to teachers, educators, whenever you actually have a question versus a traditional where you basically have once a week or I don't know, like twice a month, you have an in-person meeting. And so the difference is also the technological, well, we have to look at it the way it is. I mean, we use social media so much more than 10 years ago, right? Or like some platforms did not even exist 10 years ago. So the technological advancement, I can clearly see that that you're using it. And is there perhaps something that you mentioned AI? I mean, it's kind of a buzzword nowadays, right? Artificial intelligence, but it provides, I personally see that it can provide a lot of value. Do you see, or are you expecting to leverage any other technological advancements in the near future for the university?
I mean, what currently it's a lot of investment in AI in the sense of just, for example, assisting and helping us as humans and doing our job better. I would not say more efficient because that's very often the term, but it's really being able to provide more value to you. So, for example, what we currently do is the assignments that you do submit. They're currently all of them manually checked. So all of them, right, in a very, I would say, good and extensive way, because we said we need to commit to providing very good feedback. However, it's super time intense. So where we're currently experimenting with is to have a preliminary check by an AI, right? Whether bigger issues are missing. So, for example, if one person forgot 3 of the deliverables, the AI tells the professor and the tutor, right? And even tells the person this would be a good way and to actually let the learner know, so that the AI assists us in doing our job better. So that's just one example. So we're trying to really double down on AI, but not, and this is what I found dangerous hearing, for example, how IU or other universities do it, to cut off the relationship between professor or learner
Yeah,
and learner, but actually
yeah,
to give more time to the professor to spend time with the learners. Because
that's
if
nice.
I
Yeah,
have to manually check every single assignment on completeness, I
yeah,
cannot really give qualitative feedback. That's the problem then. Like, I
yeah.
can only do check, 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 but I cannot really, in a qualitative
Mm,
way, relate to the learner and say this could be done better or stuff like that.
yeah.
So we're always having this idea of using technology to help us focus on the real stuff, which is the emotional part of things, but it's not the repetitive thing that we need to keep on
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, that's really interesting. So you actually automate the routine tasks, the tasks that basically, like you mentioned, like a preliminary analysis of like what's missing and what not, and then you actually provide, or you have more time to provide actual value
Yeah,
that you as a person, as a human, as an emotional being can give to your students. Yeah,
exactly. So we have a lot of
yeah,
requests from learners currently, and like, which path could I take? Like, which I
yeah,
see in the calibration phase could I take? And
yeah,
this is it could be a standard answer based
yeah,
on a technological insight. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
you've mastered these challenges well, you can do these well. But
Yeah.
what's missing is the more emotional part where I understand Luke and say, like, why is he asking this question? It's like, what is he looking for? You know? But it's not me introducing you all of the different paths and say,
Yeah.
based on your profile, this one, but it's more understand your reasoning behind, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
currently I like Irene and a bigger part of the team focuses on the more technical advices, you know, like,
Yeah.
oh, you
Yeah.
missed challenge discussion. Here you can, like, this very
Yeah.
routine things that we humans don't necessarily need to exchange for. We need to
Yeah.
focus on the part
Yeah.
that is really relevant, that goes deeper.
That's powerful, and I think that's a huge advantage of having such a platform. So perhaps a few other questions about the topic of entrepreneurship. So what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs? So like a lot of the students in the university are being challenged to actually pick up entrepreneurship. At least I am. So, like, how would you, what advice would you give them about actually embracing entrepreneurship and actually taking steps to build something?
For me, it's this: turn your passion into an action, and it's finding your passion at first, but you can only find your passion when you try. It's this: you can
Yeah,
think of the brand whatever you want to, but I love the slogan of Nike. It's just do it. It's this literally step by step, do it. Of course, and this is always bearing the risk, don't do it in an uncalculated way where you're just like, well, I throw away everything that I have and I'm just doing it. But it's
yeah,
more for me, this I'm daring to do things one step at a
yeah,
time. It's these,
yeah,
if that's 15 minutes or 1 hour a day, if it's a side hustle, if it's, I've seen also many that said, yeah, I did it, but then I failed after 3 months. You know, thanks for your
yeah,
advice. But it's like,
yeah,
for me, it's
yeah,
been like a 15 to 20-year long journey, and you continuously, gradually improve. It's never this one leap. And I think having this long-term mindset, while this having this mindset of step by step, that's what it takes. Many mistake as entrepreneurship being the all or nothing approach. I've
mm-hmm.
not seen a single entrepreneur out there that has done this. Tomorrow I'll be successful, or in 3 months I'll just focus fully on it. I've seen a lot of failed careers and personalities that had this thinking and then were disappointed because, like, 6 months after, they were not successful.
Yeah,
So for me,
yeah.
it's this: you need to keep up.
It's consistent. It's consistency over time,
Yes,
and so that's actually one of you already answered one of the questions. Key questions was, what can you share a lesson that you learned from your own personal experience that you think is crucial for new entrepreneurs? And that is basically what you just mentioned,
that's
right? So
that's to me the number one, and then the that is paired with, don't ever, like, no, don't ever, you shouldn't say, but there, that don't do things that you do
yeah,
not love doing, where you don't find value in
yeah,
doing them. I've done that a couple of times in my years. I wouldn't say they were not worthwhile, so that's why I cannot say don't ever. So I've
yeah,
done things where I just thought, oh, that's good for the wallet for 2 to 3 years, you
yeah,
know.
for the
Uh,
paycheck. Yeah,
but honestly, I didn't feel well. I wasn't energized. I was
yeah,
doing that, but the paycheck was nice, but I
yeah,
didn't learn a lot. I didn't, you know.
yeah, yeah. That's so impressive. I mean, like personally, I've seen that too. It's such a challenge between following basically the money and following your purpose, your passion, right? And
Yeah.
and is it like, just to round up the last few questions I have? So if you look at the landscape of the education business, the online education business, so how do you anticipate to actually make to make any moves to capture these trends that we talked about? So as in, what is your long-term vision that you have for tomorrow university?
So for us, it's quality over quantity, but we also know that quantity affects quality. And I think the long-term vision for us will be to figure out high quality social learning, high quality
Right.
purpose and social learning. It's like that everybody is self-empowered while at the same time staying super connected in a meaningful way. And vision, we
Yeah.
haven't figured this out. It's like having 1 million learners you could now say in a quantitative way,
Yeah.
nice, right? But if the
Yeah.
system breaks, if the system doesn't allow for every one of these 1 million learners to have to be working on their mission and their purpose and to have meaningful and wealthy connections, then we fail. That's why I'm always saying the number is not the most important, yet it's great. I would love to see a university system where every single learner that joins tomorrow university enhances the value of the others, right? So you're like, oh, there's not an additional learner now taking away time from the professor, but rather every additional learner joins a community that then flourishes more. And I think that will
Yeah.
be the art for us to figure out in 7 to 10 years. If we had systems like that on this planet, every system was designed like that. Every
Yeah.
human on Earth is not breathing air that another person can't breathe, or cutting a tree that another person can't cut.
Yeah.
That's the system
Yeah.
problem we have, I find,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the
That's
system change
interesting.
I would love to see in like 10 years.
Yeah. That's interesting. And how do you, perhaps a question that relates also to what you mentioned before, but perhaps if you look at uh, this is out of could come out of the blue, but if you would have to build another tech business, what would it be about? Like, do you have a business model in mind? I'm just curious, like from an entrepreneurial
I have
perspective.
one, yeah. I have one.
I mean,
So
you
like,
mentioned, yeah,
just not business model in mind, but I have a huge area that could even be interesting for tomorrow university. What I currently see is a missing reconnection with nature, a missing reconnection with the planet as a whole, and grounding yourself in the core values of humanity, right? That it's about compassion, it's about helping each other. It's like I was just in Vienna for a few days, and always like comparing Frankfurt to Vienna. I was always like amazed in Vienna that people are talking when they're in the railway, when they're
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're
You're waiting,
chatting.
yeah,
And in Frankfurt, people were like wearing suits and busy and writing newspapers, and you
yeah,
had these robots more or less going to
yeah,
work. So I was always, and now I saw the same in Vienna. I saw the people all with their screens. Nobody was talking. They were just watching stupid videos. And this is a huge trend, this like technology phone addiction that we currently see, where people are just really focusing on whatever happens, like with the monkey brains and the dopamine that is. And I see this as a huge chance to help everyone on earth to reconnect with nature again, and to actually set boundaries on where and how to use technology. That's also what we need to do as TUU. That's why, for example, we say, responsibility is one of our core values, but you can fall easily for this, world of information, of attention.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I see a few business models out there that tackle exactly that problem, that
yeah,
give us back our center, personal development, balance, and focus on what's really like. Yesterday on Sunday, I just leave the phone away,
yeah.
for the full day. I'm
That's
totally energized by the evening. Not sure if the 14-year-old can do that, if the 21-year-old can do that. We need to help them manage these technologies in a way, these phone addictions, and that's a huge problem that I currently see unsolved.
that's a really good idea that you come up with, since it's true that you have, on the one hand, you have this huge technological development, you have this unlimited resource of information at access at your at your access. Basically, if you have internet, you can answer every question that you have using AI or whatever, or search engine, basically. And to have that healthy balance, I think is it's necessary in order to have well, we also study, we're looking to sustainability, so it's actually a sustainable model also, like from a health wise perspective, to actually have healthy boundaries. I think that's very, very, very powerful. And yeah, I would love to read also more about those businesses.
Yeah, emotional intelligence, self-empowerment again. It's this
Yeah,
ability, it's this mindset, less is more. I currently see everyone striving still for more, 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 and that draws us to
yeah,
what I'm saying. The systems change is needed as a whole.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
that is a big part of it, I find.
yeah. Okay, that was it for my part. I would like to really thank you a lot for your time
Thank
and
you.
insights, which I really appreciate. You inspired me really greatly, Thomas. So I would tell you just to keep at it and continue building this amazing university
Thank you.
with you. Yeah, that's something that am really keen also to be part of it in this MBA program that I'm following. And well, you've provided me a lot of valuable insights. I don't know if you have any questions for me. Please feel free to ask them.
No, I would love to just return the compliment. You are one of the learners that makes me thrive, just to be very transparent, because your
Thanks. Thank you.
compassionate way of asking things and encouraging me as well is what I
Yeah.
see what is needed in this place. It's like
Yeah.
we have, a lot of not our learners, but a lot of problems with criticize, control, correct. It's like, but we need to empower each other. We need to be.
Yeah.
I find that so valuable, and I saw that in you from day one. So I just also wanted to
Yeah.
say,
Thank
please
you.
keep on doing that. This
Yeah.
positive spirit that you bring is what many others could learn from. So
Yeah. Thank you
just
very much, Thomas. I appreciate that coming from you, especially. Thanks a lot. Okay, so well, let's then end the interview.